Although Kevin may have some other inputs on that, I don't know. Anything?
For a lot of these.
You have what?
Can you make text mic?
We actually implemented something called say conf for a lot of these occasions, but it hasn't been integrated in voicemail, so you still have to configure voicemail. But for saying numbers, digits, and other things, we have a configuration file nowadays made by Luigi Rizzo in Pisa.
Okay.
But yeah, we spent a lot of time, and especially with Taiwanese, because saying Taiwanese numbers was really amazing if you read the code. But that was a couple of years ago. We got all these patches for all kinds of languages that we integrated in voicemail and in saying numbers and a couple of other parts as well.
Yeah, voicemail is a very complicated application, and in fact, I remember actually probably about a year ago, someone had taken out the little line at the beginning that said something about, could you imagine voicemail could be this easy? Because when I first wrote it, it was a very, very simple application. Yeah.
Please check mini voicemail.
Yeah. Microphone.
Mark, in the 1.6 code base, what changes, what changes in the code base that are now in 1.6 are you most impressed with, at least in the core? And what are you most excited about?
Well, Kevin's going to specifically have a talk about 1.4 and 1.6. For me, I guess I have to admit I'm kind of a feature snob, so I'm still probably most excited about the event stuff that Russell's been doing, as well as TLS for SIP and SRTP whenever it becomes available. Those are the things that SRTP is not going to be in 1.6? 1.6.0. Well, not in 1.6.0, but I think it's going to be in 1.6.1? Yeah, somewhere in 1.6.
Are you talking about...
Yes.
Are you talking about clustered events and stuff?
The clustered events is in 1.6.0, at least as it relates to, I think it's voicemails in the first part, and then presence to follow, I think. So
would that like kind of allow data structures to be replicated across Asterisk machines, maybe to preserve call continuity or something?
No. This is more about clustering information, like the status of your voicemail messages and the presence of people across clusters. Yeah. Okay, that's a good way to think of it.
Well, there was a patch in something to do with AIS, if I remember right. It's this kind of back-end thing to for replicating data structures, things like channel structures and stuff to kind of maintain a call.
I'm not sure about that particular one, but IBM did a demonstration based on the solid database, and I'm trying to remember there was some kind of a standard. Yeah, there was some kind of a standards-based interface that they were working to be able to support to do that. From my mind, and not everyone looks at it this way, but I think that the best thing that ever happened to voice over IP was the creation of cell phones, because it changed people's perspective about what it means to have a phone call. Right. I mean, if you think about 20 years ago, if you were talking to someone and the call dropped, there'd be such an unusual event, and now it's just taken as read. You just go back and call again. I think that the incremental effort that is required to say that if I lose a server and I lose the calls that are on it, and trying to save all those calls is so high, and people's expectations now, thanks to cell phones, are so much lower than what they used to be, that I think it's important that you can just pick up the phone and call again, and when you make that call, that it goes through, as relatively rare as it should be to have a failure of that sort.
Okay, yes, that's good enough.
Oh, all right, in the back, we need the microphone.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Do you have any customers or knowledge that use enum, the 164 ARPA stuff, or is that a dead beast?
I think the question was, do we have any customers that use E1s that use enum? Yeah. Yes, there are definitely people that use enum with Asterisk. We also have Dundee as well. I think enum is more widely used in environments that contain a lot of other stuff other than just Asterisk, and Dundee is being used in situations where you've got a lot of clustering. And then when I was in Brazil just 2 weeks ago, there was a guy there that has developed some kind of like system that automatically configures Dundee across multiple servers to make it easier to hook up, because right now the problem is Dundee is kind of a pain to configure.
Because in Germany we have for many years the situation that we have many VoIP islands. Mm-hmm. And if one VoIP islands go to another, you have the plain old telephone system to connect these islands, and that's in principle I think it's crap.
In fact, that's an application that I have long wanted to see the Dundee protocol be able to be used for, because Dundee allows you to overlay dial plans. So, for example, even if there's no clear division between numbers from one to another, it allows multiple service providers to be able to peer together without having to expose all their customer lists, without having to create some other entity that would then have to be a new centralized authority, but allows it to be done more like the way peering is done on the internet with the BGP and OSPF. So I would certainly encourage anyone that wants to bring those together to do so. In the US, it is very challenging, not because of the technology, but because there are so many companies who are trying to be the monopoly of how you convert a phone number to a location, like an IP address, that they are pushing very hard to try to make enum the only answer there, and pushing to be the only provider or the only recognized provider for enum. And I think the opportunity for the customer is much better if you allow multiple companies to compete in this space and to have a protocol that allows them to peer together more easily.
Okay, thank you.
I guess what I wanted to ask is whether you guys have a formal strategy for competing with Microsoft, and maybe how you've been bumping into them in the last, say, 18 months, because I know they're going aggressively into this space now.
Well, we haven't yet run into Microsoft very much, except at trade shows. I've been on a few panels with the guys from Microsoft. But I would say that Microsoft is probably the company that I am most concerned about in terms of their entry into voice over IP. I was on a panel at an event called VoiceCon, and I sort of described it as, 2 or 3 years ago, it was great that nobody took open source seriously, because, we were competing with Cisco and Avaya, and it's really easy and great to compete with all those guys because they don't, they're still trying to understand that they're software companies when it comes to the voice space. And Microsoft obviously understands that this is all software and understands the importance of the applications. So the scariest part is that they understand the same things. And I think the primary advantage that Microsoft has is obviously in the way that they control the servers and the operating system. And the primary thing that we have with open source is that we're open source, and is that we can innovate so much more rapidly. And we have to work very hard to make sure, and when I say we, it means not only Digium, but the whole Asterisk community has to work very hard to make sure that the experience of using Asterisk is as easy as it can be, and is as effective on the Windows platform as it can be. So Digium is working on a variety of technologies, not just SwitchFox, but